Okay, recording this video after close trade Wednesday, 25th of March 2015. So before getting into the charts, I just want to say a big thank you for all the incredibly kind messages I got after yesterday's video. I've said this time and again, I'm so fortunate. The group of subscribers and watchers of Emini-Watch, just a great group of people, and it's so unusual in today's kind of online world that's full of, kind of bullies and trolls. You guys out there are just the best, so I really appreciate all the kind messages I got after yesterday's video. And with that being said, let's get to some charts. Hopefully, after yesterday's video, today's sell-off took nobody by surprise, and I hope nobody was trying to get long today, because there was no reason to. So, first of all, a recap on what we were saying yesterday. This is the big blue spiky bar, which was the FOMC bar that set up kind of last week, and that is the setup for the activity that we've had over the last couple of days. So after that big blue professional spiky bar, we had a false breakout above the highs. We got no follow through here, got a little amateur up bar right above there, 2100, and as soon as yesterday's kind of activity where we closed back into, that was the close of yesterday, this bar here, as soon as we closed back into that range, that meant that the low of that kind of big blue professional spiky bar was in play. We tested the high, it had failed, the breakout to the highs had failed, and therefore we're going to test the lows of that. And wouldn't you know, the low of today, which was 52.25, was exactly the low of that FOMC day, 52.25. That's no coincidence, just because that was an important number. We've got all kinds of resting buy orders kind of sitting there, and that's why the market kind of stopped there. But today's activity, we'd had a massive kind of fall off in the day, 30 points or something to the downside. It was great trading, all kinds of opportunities to get short, and I hope no one was trying to get long at any point during today, because there was no reason to. And I'm going to show you first of all the 4500 tip bar chart. This is today's activity. I mean, one of the reasons why today's activity was such great trading was I was worried at the end of yesterday that we were going to get the sell-off starting to break down during the Asian session and then follow through into the European session. And in fact, what we got was nothing. We almost had no activity kind of overnight. No lead from Asia, no lead from US, which meant that as soon as today's kind of trending move started today, we could get on board it right from the beginning here. So that was the overnight activity. That was the close of Tuesday. This was the open of Wednesday. We had nothing kind of going on in terms of range and activity there. But we were in a downtrend. We got one of these exhaustion patterns at the end of the day, and I say always look for that exhaustion pattern to follow through the next day, particularly on the 1500 tip bar chart to kind of bottom the market. If we're going to have a reversal day, they're going to flush everybody out first before kind of getting the market going. And so there was opportunities to get short here as soon as that pullback resistance level came in. And I'll show you the setup for that kind of short trade coming into this activity here. But here is the 11 a.m. bar. So this is using the vertical time indicator here, where I've just turned on the 11 a.m. bar. There was no reason to be going long at any point during the day. If it was going to be a reversal day, and it was pretty steep in terms of the decline here, we needed by 11 a.m. to have bottomed and started moving the other way. But here you can see 11 a.m. we're still at kind of new fresh lows for the day, and then we just followed through towards the end of the day. There was no reason to go long. Best setup for the day was kind of getting into this move right at the open, and I'll show you this. So first of all, on that 4500 tip bar chart, a little bit of strength at the beginning of the day kind of came into that resistance at that point. It was resistance, it was a pullback and a downtrend on the 4500 tip bar chart. When you back it down to the 500 tip bar chart, this was what was going on. This is the open here, and there's that move into pullback to end of trend, led by the amateurs. Look at those Rambo patterns, bang bang, up into pullback to end of trend, and that's a classic. Pullback to end of trend, so it's a trending move ending there at that point, syncing up with cyclical resistance on that higher time frame, the 4500 tip bar time frame. Now you might ask, why did the Rambo patterns kind of print like that, one on top of the other and nowhere near those amateur up bars? This is a little quirk of TradeStation. TradeStation, when it is plotting text on a chart, can only plot to the nearest minute of the bar. It can't plot to the nearest seconds on the bar. This might change, I think, in 9.5, TradeStation 9.5, but I'm still on 9.1, and so it just references the last kind of full minute for those, and so that's why it was plotting those text bars there. But they sit, in fact, over those kind of amateur up bars happening there. So we can see that that activity was really weak coming into that pullback to end of trend. It happened with an exhaustion pattern there, and I always say amateur bars that come with exhaustion patterns are unstable, so watch out for those. And as soon as we started to move the other way, we had these little blue professional bars kind of come in, and then we broke the lows of those, so they were selling down at that point there, and that's when this kind of downtrend started off on the downside here. It was a beautiful move. I moved my target out from 83. I was short at 87, moved it out from 83 as soon as this thing started to accelerate, and I got out at 80 on this first move down. Then tried to get short again a little bit later. That didn't work out, took a loss of 1.25, and then I waited for this move here. So on the 1500 tip bar chart, we've had our exhaustion sell, blue professional bars kind of coming at the lows, bullish divergence here. Remember, that bullish divergence is really close to the zero line, so you're waiting for a flush pattern. You're waiting for something bigger into that. And then this rally back up, you can see being led by the amateurs. Rambo patterns on 1500 are really significant. So we know that the amateurs are kind of getting long at that point. They get wrong-footed, and we start down again, break to new lows, come back up to test. Another blue professional bar comes in under those Rambo patterns there, and then we break into a beauty of a downtrending move. Now, I was done my trading by here. I was kind of happy with what I'd had, but this thing just continued falling down and down and down. And it wasn't until we kind of put in, pullback to end of trend and a whole bunch of blue professional bars at the end of the day that this thing kind of ended up with exhaustion sell on the downside here. So it was a free-flowing kind of down move day. We had a little bit of congestion at this point here. They were trying to hold it around the 80 mark, and as soon as that kind of gave way, bang, we're into another kind of trending move on the way down. The support levels that I kind of gave you yesterday were 2070 to start with, and that kind of we fell through that, and then the 57 level we kind of fell through that and kind of fell to 52s. So we went through two of those kind of important support levels on the way down, and I think we might be looking for 30 on the way down, but we'll have a little bit of strength, a little bit of a bounce back at some point after today's activity, because that was a pretty steep kind of sell-off. Higher time frame tip bar charts, this is how this whole thing kind of set up on the 13,500 tip bar chart. Pullback to end of trend. This is before Friday's activity. This is I beg your pardon, Monday's activity. So Friday was pretty weak. We had kind of some late selling at the end of the day, and then on Monday it was pretty much a nothing day until we had the breakdown at the end of the day, and then that was that whole sequence of blue professional down bars after that pullback to end of trend sequence. This was kind of getting the move going here. Wasn't a trending move until we break support really properly on the way down here, and you can see we've come in with all kinds of exhaustion patterns. That could easily be a flush kind of down here. Blue professional bars have come in, so we're going to probably kind of push back and put in pullback to end of trend, but this thing is not over on the downside. On the 40,500 tip bar chart, this is this complex correction on the way back up, where we've just been batting backwards and forwards between support, resistance. Now we're into a trend move, broken down here on the way down. So this thing has got to find pullback to end of trend, and here's the 30 level kind of sitting kind of down here. Let's see if we could kind of go and revisit that level down. One of the reasons why I'm a little bit more kind of bearish that we're just not going to bounce like we did here off this kind of low at this point is, on the higher time frame chart, this is the continuous contract of the E-mini on a weekly time frame here, and you can see we've had quite a nice little pattern go on. So on weekly charts, pullback to end of trends come in, so the price has kind of exhausted here. We also have exhaustion buy with a pro signal exit at this point, blue professional up bars, and when we have a blue professional an exhaustion pattern like that, pro signal exit on the end of trend, I say wait for the second cyclical turn after end of trend, which is 1, 2, second cyclical turn after end of trend. If that had happened on a shoulder here over here, then pullback to end of trend is an area where we could start to reverse. But because we've had the exhaustion on the end of trend signal, I say give it a little bit of time. It needs to work itself out in terms of putting in bearish divergence and flush, and you can see the bearish divergence there very close to the zero line, so wait for a flush pattern, and that's what happened after this last couple of weeks activity. So we've gone into cyclical resistance on the weekly chart after this monster kind of trending move that's gone in to pull back to end of trend. We got this nice little pattern here: exhaustion, bearish divergence, flush, and then we've just reversed all of the strength that we had with last week's activity with today's activity. It's almost like a 2-bar kind of reversal on the way down. So we're weak in terms of the weekly charts here. And then if I look at this in terms of valuations, effectively, this is looking at the equities versus the bonds here. This is free indicator you can get on Emini-Watch, which is just kind of looking at the difference between the moves in the two with overbought and oversold levels. Oversold, we can see blue professional bars come in as soon as we kind of tick below these kind of extreme levels on this indicator here. Overboughts are signaled by white bars up here. So we had this whole series of overbought here, where versus the bonds were selling off, the equities were going higher. So we got overbought in terms of bonds, and to catch this thing we got to see some blue professional bar, some red bars coming in here, showing that we are oversold in terms of bonds, and we've not kind of ticked down into those kind of levels yet. So in terms of bonds we're not oversold yet, and that puts this kind of low kind of here in play. And then if we look at it versus the carry trade, look at the Japanese yen, same indicator, looking at the SPY versus the FXY, so the two ETFs for equities versus the yen. You can see oversold, overbought, overbought, oversold, overbought, and so on. This last kind of sequence here, again, we were overbought, we're looking for oversold. Oversold comes in with red bars kind of down here when this indicator kind of goes below this limit. And we've not reached there yet. We're kind of a ways off in terms of what's happening there. So we've had a good little sell-off at the moment, and we've still got to reach kind of oversold levels before we start bouncing again. So on that kind of basis, I think we could travel a little bit further. And then on the 135-minute chart, said we've got to wait a little bit of time before this pullback to end of trend, kind of, or dirty end of trend sequence kind of comes in with this cyclical support at this point here. I mean, there's going to be a real battle down here at this kind of 2030 level, because that's kind of a critical kind of pivot level, and let's just wait and see. But I think today's activity shows the weakness in the market. We kind of reversed this activity here, and we've got a little bit of time to run in terms of this kind of finding support. So it was a great little kind of trading day today. I do hope everybody kind of got short at some point during today, and I hope nobody was trying to go long. I'll tag on my first kind of trade for the day because it was a beauty. I hope you traded it well. Okay, just got short 87 even. Short 87 even. Check my stops and targets. And so, ooh, that's nice. Wednesday, 25th March. Alright, actually, I better make some changes here. Let's move these out of the way. Just move my target out to 80. So, after yesterday's video, I was kind of bearish. We'd go for a big move today, and what we have first thing in the morning, after the open, a false rally driven by the amateurs, rainbow patterns into pullback to end of trend, exhaustion buy, which synced up with cyclical resistance, happens to be pullback in a downtrend. So this thing is going to resolve itself on the downside. We'll pull back to end of trend. Now we've got hung up here temporarily. What are we talking about? Lows 83s. So it's kind of important levels, so you can see there we just kind of come into a little bit of exhaustion, but breaking through this support will all of a sudden take us into a trendy move on the way down. And we did that quickly, which is nice, good. So let's see, let's hold on to resolve this. Next step down is exhaustion, sell on 1500 with kind of continuation through here before there's any chance of a reversal. So we've got a whole bunch of blue professional bars kind of sitting on a bit of a ledge here. We've got a little bit of time before support comes in, but this thing's playing out, so we're going to drop support. That's right on the zero line, so it's likely to see a flush pattern, so a bigger kind of dig down. Right, we're holding it for the time being, but let's see that little sequence can give it a little bit, maybe a quarter point, maybe a half point above, but breaks that support, we're going down. So let's see what happens next. Alright, there we go. We got the breakthrough support on 500, so we're going to do a trend move on the way down here. So my initial target was 83 and I moved it out to just 80 even. Just get well out of the way, kind of thing that will, generate an exhaustion pattern. That's 81.50, so yeah, we could see that. So that's 81.52. Alright, Rambo pattern. Ammo's leading the way here. We got this cyclical support to kind of get through, but we're in a trend move here. Alright, here we go. We just hit the initial target, and this is where I get nervous. Alright, here we go. I think we're out of danger in terms of a retrace. So, I suppose if any blue professional bars kind of come in, it's going to make this hard for me here. We just need to drop through this recent low and really start this pullback to end of trend sequence here on 500. There we go, we got another breakthrough support. This resistance came in, it was not a pullback level. Okay, here we go. Blue professional down bar, that's breaking through the ice. Here we go. My target's sitting 80 even, probably shouldn't be sitting at a round number, but let's just see. It's 81.50, so a bit of a technical bounce kind of around here. Previous lows, come on, bingo, out at 80. Excellent, that was for 7. Awesome, and it's 8:46 AM. Minus 10,000, wow, on a 1500, that'll give us an exhaustion pattern. And we've still not found pullback end of trends. We've still got some time to run here. Pullback to end of trend. Here we go. We're going down and down. Well, probably should be looking for more. 13 total collapse.